Welcome to the Creative Tribe Podcast. This is a podcast about all of the things that fuel a creative lifestyle. I'm Rita,
And I'm Brian.
and together we're Label Me Other. Label Me Other is our production company, and one of our goals is to create creative problem solvers. If you are creative and this sounds interesting to you, consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. Look us up by The Creative Tribe. You can also find tons of creative tips on our TikTok page at Label Me Other. Or if you have any questions in the realm of content creation, then feel free to drop us a line at labelmeother@gmail.com.
Mhm.
We strive to post new podcast episodes every single Tuesday. All right, so we'd
Yep.
like to start our podcast off with a vent session. This is where we can get off of our chest any negative moods that we may be in, because we believe the keys to a healthy creative lifestyle is having the space to shake off any negativity. So today, my vent is about I guess creative managers, bosses, leaders of any kind, just remembering and knowing that you can't forget your people's power. And I think a lot of times in these spaces, whether you have a good boss or a bad boss, I think particularly for the not so great bosses, they can sometimes think that everything is just shooting down to your people. You're just,
Mhm.
popping down orders to them to figure it out and get it together. But what you should never do is forget that they have a power. They have a superpower. And that superpower is their voice. They can invoke it at any moment and at any time. And be it if you're not such a great boss or a good boss, they can use it for your good or your detriment. And recently had this very thing happen. Someone evoked their superpower as a creative and they spoke their truth and that truth was validated. And so I think it's really exciting to see because we can easily forget that if you want to at any time as a creative, you can use your voice to speak up
Mhm.
to injustices that are happening potentially in your department, in your group, in your institute, in your whatever. And just maybe somebody will do something about it. Somebody will listen and make a difference. So it was nice to see, refreshing to remember. And I thought, this would be a great opportunity to reiterate that notion that hey, you got a voice, use it if you need to, use it to speak
Mhm.
up. So
Mhm. Your voice has power.
yeah, yeah.
It does.
And these people in these positions, they just forget. I think they forget that it can mess them up if they're not doing the right things.
Yeah.
The right person gets to talking, and then next thing you know, they're looking real crazy. So,
I mean, that's just a result of like their own like lack of knowing their team and knowing, what makes their team work, and also like that's just a result of just lack of morale when somebody has to,
yeah.
amplify their voice and use their voice to sway the situation, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just,
Yeah.
it's just a sign that something there isn't quite right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if you guys believe in karma or things coming back. I do believe in like putting out good and good may come back, putting out not so good and that may come back for you too. So, you know,
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
who knows, who knows. But yeah, so that was just my bent for this episode.
Mm.
Um yeah, that brings us to our main topic, which for this episode is how to challenge perfectionism. Hmm. So perfectionism is a mindset that often hinders personal growth and can lead to excessive stress and self-criticism. Challenging perfectionism, requires a conscious effort to adapt a healthy perspective on one's achievements and mistakes.
Mm.
And in regards to this topic, I've discovered that I don't know for me if it's so much of perfectionism as it is me needing to feel aware of all the obstacles I may encounter during the process.
Hmm.
And so it kind of becomes this notion of like, well, I can't start something if I don't know what I may run into, because then how will I know? I guess that it exists to have a game plan to attack it. Like I don't need to know how okay, for example, like I don't need to know how to fix what may arise. I just need to know that it may come up. So for
Hmm.
example, like let's say I want to change my own oil. Like I decided I'm going to change my oil in my car. Well, for me, it could look like perfectionism, but I feel like it's more so like, well, I need to know, first of all, where is the oil in my car? How do I get to it? How do I pull the cap off? What do I need to have in order? If it looks purple, is that normal? If it's black, if it's is that okay? If it's blue, purple, orange, or whatever. And then like just to know, like, oh, it could potentially do this, this, and this. Be prepared for that. Like those are the things that bring me like comfort in like trying new things, but they're
Mm-hmm.
also the things that slow me down from trying new things. And so it's not necessarily like being perfect at it, but it's just knowing everything I need to know before I start.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
does
I
that
mean,
make
but
sense?
that's like, I mean, because like you're kind of like in this gathering information stage, and you
Yeah.
get stuck. And you're saying like you get stuck in
Mm-hmm.
this gathering information phase because you can never gather too much information. And so you're like, well, I don't have enough. Let me just keep on getting this. You
Yeah.
know, well, I may need to know this, or what about this? And
Mm-hmm.
that's just procrastination. I mean, it's really
Yeah.
that is like procrastination because that fear of not being equipped or prepared for whatever that roadblock may be.
Yeah.
You feel like you may not have enough information to overcome it. And you're
Yeah.
not leaning into like one of your superpowers, Rita, which is you're a good problem solver. You're not leaning into that,
Yeah.
being like,
Yeah.
well, you're doubting your ability.
Yeah. Yeah. Doubting myself and like, yeah, I just don't trust myself to get in there, I guess, and say, well, whatever comes up, I'm equipped enough to problem solve and figure out how to fix it once it comes up, not
Mm-hmm.
knowing everything that could potentially come up, just knowing, hey, whatever comes up, you can do it then. And so I'm starting to change that thought process into like, um, I can become, instead of it has to be perfect before I can start, it being like I need these instances of trial and error to become
Mm-hmm.
better. Like
Mm-hmm.
I need to be able to just go in and say, I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm just trying to be better. And whatever happens this time when I do it, it's going to make me better. And over time, I can say, well, I'm really good at X because I've had all these trial and error, errors to get there. And so I'm trying to like shift my perspective a little bit and not necessarily um think about it as perfectionism, but just opportunities to just have trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which, it comes with a grain of salt. But recently I put this to practice and I did something without too much premeditation. And
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to talk about that. And it was
Yeah.
my process in trying stop motion for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never done stop motion before. I don't have any experience with it. I understand the concept of it, of course. But, I saw somebody do a stop motion on TikTok and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try it. I'm gonna try it. I'm just gonna put my efforts to it and try it. And so, I went, took a bunch of pictures. And I mean, I didn't pre-think it out too heavy. Took a bunch of shots, put it together. And, I did run into problems. I did run into a
Mm-hmm.
couple of errors where the software that I was supposed to be using through TikTok, it didn't work. So then that was problem number one. And I had to
Mm-hmm.
go and like, okay, what's another free software I could use to do this? Do a little research, figure it out. All right, I can use this program. I can't think of the name. But if you want to know, put in the comments and I'll find it for you.
Yeah.
But I found this free program. Then I had to put all my images. Then I had to retake images because the images I took in TikTok didn't work. So it was just a process. It was a process of being like, okay, actual things that I wasn't expecting came up, but I figured it out. I did
Mm-hmm.
it. I posted it and it was done. So it was just like I have to find more instances like this where I can just challenge myself to like not know anything going into it and just try.
Mm-hmm.
Just try and fail and try again. Like,
I
I don't
I
know.
will say this, like this is what has helped me, and for all my gamers out there,
Mhm.
Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and the newest one, Tears of the Kingdom. This
Yeah.
whole concept of trial and error and not really having a plan or having a plan and seeing if that plan works.
Yeah.
Like this game, both of those games are like great like playgrounds for that kind of like thought process, because that's just how, like, at its core, like that's what the game is about.
Yeah.
It's about the game giving you these objectives,
Hmm.
and there, and you have like a certain amount of like tools. Is pretty much your imagination, like sky's the limit on how you solve that certain objective.
Mm.
And so it's like I've been taking some of those concepts and then applying that, as far as, just testing and trying and not and embracing it not being perfect, because
Yeah.
you'll figure out certain things in the game. You'll build, especially in Tears of the Kingdom, because you're building these different contraptions to solve these puzzles. And a lot of the contraptions that I build look terrible, but they
Mm.
work. They get me to they get me to that objective. They help me like solve the puzzle, solve the problem. And
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
like perfectionism, like that's is not real. It's like it's gonna look ugly.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
gonna look ugly.
Yeah.
But as long as you achieve your goal, then you can go back, because it's really cool too. Because the things that you build, if you get to a certain part of the game, it saves it, so you
Hmm.
can rebuild them and you can refine these different
Mm.
builds or these different contraptions that you make. Like if you want to make a flying machine, you may build it at first, and it may, have like it may lean to the right. It's not
Yeah.
like perfectly balanced. Well, then you can build it again and then make different adjustments to it and save it. So it's
Mm.
like it's perfect for like this type of thing. So if you're into
Yeah.
gaming, I would definitely try those things out, because I think this will help you in this like perfectionism, or being afraid to start, just the whole trial and error and being okay with, it not being perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I think people people that video games get a bad rep because it's
Mhm.
like people just think like they're mindless and people just wasting their time. And maybe to a degree we are, but there is a thing about video games that really promotes like problem solving, self-discovery, figuring
Mhm.
out, you know, solutions to problems. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't say of our like skills in problem solving didn't develop early on in video games
Probably.
because you have to problem solve. Like you got to figure out a way. It doesn't just always, especially the old stuff, back in the day. Like it doesn't just tell you how to do it. Like you
Mhm.
gotta get in there. And you gotta figure it out,
Yeah.
and then you gotta explore. And I think a lot of people are just afraid to do that. Sometimes they're afraid to like just explore what could be, but it does promote you flexing that muscle on a constant basis if you play often enough. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, man, it's great if you. I know it's probably hard for people who didn't do it as a kid and who didn't keep up with it. Like if you had to go back, like I know my wife is really bad with like hand-eye coordination, like the games where it's open world, like she has
Mhm.
trouble with the head and the body movements, with the fingers, so it's just like it is a skill. It's a skill. So if you're trying to get into it.
I mean, and I can only speak from my backgrounds. Like, of course, yes, video games helped a lot with the, you know, perfection and just the trial and error of failing and it looking ugly, but then you're just each time you're doing it, you're
Hmm.
getting closer. If you think perfectionism is a real thing, you're getting closer each iteration, each time you do it through repetition, you're getting closer and you're refining to being perfect. What I used to do, because my background is being a cinematographer and like an editor, just filmmaker,
Hmm.
I would just go shoot stuff, edit stuff. That's really, I think that really planted the seed of my whole like non-narrative filmmaking thing, because I always would just go out and shoot things in different lighting settings and different angles,
Hmm.
trying different things to see how they look, and then editing them together. And it's not necessarily like a story attached to it, but you know, it's just that's just a way of, I guess, just to challenge perfectionism, to
Hmm.
chip away at it, the repetitions. Like you're going to get better as you go along. And it's just, I'm not worrying about, well, I need to get this type of lens, this type of camera. I'm just grabbing whatever's available
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
going out and shooting these things. And then, if I given I face challenges given the type of equipment that I may have with me,
Yeah.
and then so then I have to problem solve to be like, okay, well, how can I get this shot the way that I want it, the way that I see it in my mind with this limited amount of equipment that I have? And it just sharpens you. It makes you better. It makes you think outside of the box. It
Yeah.
makes you think, well, if I don't have a gimbal, I can do these certain things to kind of make it seem like I do have a gimbal. To make the shot less shaky, to
Hmm.
get smooth, movement. There's different things that I could do. If I
Yeah.
hold it like this, or if I hold my arms away from my body and I don't have those little micro movements in the footage. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
things like that outside of video games. It's just you have to do it, repeat, refine, do it, repeat it, refine it. Just you gotta repeat that cycle all over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's something too to probably be said about how, being comfortable with the way you doing it looking different from the way someone else does it.
Mhm.
And like I saw people early on in filmmaking, like they made dollies out of like old pair of roller skates. They took the wheels from the roller skates and put them at two like 45-degree angles and got some PVC pipe and
Mhm.
mounted it to a plank of wood, and then they sat the camera tripod on there and they glided it across. And it's like ingenuity at its finest. It's like, does that work? Absolutely. Did it look
Yep.
different from other people's?
Yep.
Probably so. But the notion is like, be comfortable with that. The way you do something may look different, but if it still gets the job done, it gets the job done.
It's just like I said, it's like you reach the goal. And
Hmm.
as you get better, as if you're working on a project for a client or whatever, and you get extra money, then
Yeah.
you can build it up and refine it, and it's not, janky like that. Maybe you can actually have money to buy like a real,
Hmm.
dolly. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it's just that you didn't let that stop you.
Yeah.
It's like you
Yeah.
thought outside the box. You were a creative problem solver.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. For sure. Yeah. Perfectionism is it's a weird thing. It's very weird, but I do think there's ways that you can go about challenging it, and we mentioned a few today. And if you're still struggling with it, just look at it as like, instead of being perfect, like just try to be better. Hey, I'm trying to be better at this, and so
Mhm.
give yourself a little bit of grace, allow yourself to make some mistakes, and to just keep challenging it. I think you'll be all right,
Yeah.
um, for sure. The next thing really quick I wanted to bring up was this is technically supposed to be, I believe, my last update. This will be for week 4, I think, for the
Mhm.
Mastering Your Own Destiny. A few weeks back now, we talked about mastering your own destiny. I decided to do a challenge where I am mentally embodying becoming a creative director and my actions. And an interesting thing happened last week, where I sort of got a positive affirmation from it, where my coworker, Ryan will probably know who this is once I say what they
Mhm.
said, mentioned to me. She called me and she said, I spoke to our supervisor about you, and I was just telling her that, like, what is going on with Rita? She's like on fire. She's like got all these ideas. She's coming with all these things. She's like, where is this coming from? And so I was like, that's interesting that, to hear her say that. And then my supervisor said, oh, well, you might be surprised. You may hear a lot more stuff from her because, they're trying to get some things rolling for me, or she was trying to get some things rolling for me at work. And so, they both were just really talking about how they've noticed me pulling out of my shell more.
Mhm.
And it was, in a way, it was good to hear because it meant it's making a difference and people are noticing it. And then this week, um, I alluded to it, I think, in the last episode that we had I kind of had a regression with it, in that I
Mhm.
was trying to figure out ways to pull my team together, figure out ways to do things collectively. And then we hit a roadblock in that, the only person I really could depend on was Brian. The other teammates kind of like fell through on their commitment to do work that they said they would commit to, or half do work they committed to. And so it has me feeling like I'm not quite sure where to go with this. I mean, I still want to feel as though I'm stepping into my own destiny, and I do want to challenge myself to continue doing that, but it's that notion of like, okay, maybe I don't need to bring the team up with me on this. So as an update, I feel like it's working. I
Mm,
feel like it is helping me mentally. It's helping me stay in tune with who I feel I should am trying to become. But it's now navigating how to not let other energies throw that off.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's something I feel like you should keep the challenge going
Mm-hmm.
because I'd be interesting to find out because I don't know if everybody knows. Okay, so what Rita's trying to do and these people dropping the ball is that she's not their boss.
Yeah.
Like we're all on the same level. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
she can't technically make them follow through on what they said that they were going to do. So the challenge is that make how can you set up the situation to where your coworkers respect you enough to follow through on what they said that they were going to do when it involves a team? Like that's what I'm interested in finding out now is like, what can you do? You
Yeah.
know, is there something that you can do to
Yeah.
make them like because to me, I feel like that is like a respect thing for the team. Now I understand there are times where you drop the ball or you're just running behind and you can say something, but in this situation, they said nothing. They didn't
Yeah.
say, "Hey, Rita, I'm going to be late or I'm not going to have this."
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't happen.
Yeah. And
So,
keep in mind, just to preface it a little bit more, like we had a team meeting. I This particular project is a pretty big video project, which
mhm,
video typically will come to like Brian and I because we're the strongest suited in it. However, I'm trying to find ways to bring the rest of the team together into the fold to where it becomes less of like video work. It has to be Brian and Rita. It's more so like project. How can we attack as a team? And so my efforts in doing that was like, okay, the ways we can receive help would be in the script portion of it. And so I asked my other teammates. I had a whole meeting where I just kind of like disseminated out how we could transform form scripts into a certain form, and then asked them if that was something feasible that they could help with, to which they agreed they could. And then from there, I just set forth a potential deadline for which I asked if it was feasible, and then said, okay, great. You guys agree. I showed you how to do it. You think you can do it. You're willing to help in this way. This will be a tremendous help. And then like the balls kind of dropped. And
yeah,
so that's kind of the backstory of this. And I agree, Brian. I think it is a point where it's like, okay, where do we go from here? And I know it's like a fine line between trying to make this collaborative and coming off bossy.
mhm,
It's my fear that I would come off bossy, which is totally not my intention. My intention is to help you feel as though, based on prior complaints I've heard, make you feel as though you're actually a member of this team and you have a part to play.
mhm,
That's really my intention. And honestly, from what I told Brian privately, was that my goal in asking them to help with this was never for them to actually do the project, because I was prepared to do it myself. My goal in it was, will you communicate if you can't? Will
mhm,
you feel as though you are letting me down as your team member enough to say, I'm going to be late. I don't have it yet. I'm running behind. I'm going to get it to you. It's so much less about like you actually doing it for
yeah.
me. And not even having like this, it's like 2 days late now. Yeah, 2 days late now. And so for one of the team members, I haven't heard anything. I don't even know if that person's working on it. And so now I'm having to think, should I do it myself? Do I need to reach out? Do I need to let it go? Do I need to let my supervisor reach out to them? But then
But this
also in this mentality of I'm a creative director, how do I approach a team member who needs,
you
yeah,
you have to do it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to do it because through the actions of your supervisor,
Hmm.
nothing is going to be done
Yeah.
because she was there. This person was there.
Hmm.
They know that these people dropped the ball, but
Hmm.
now, like you said, 2 days out,
No word.
nothing, nothing. So
Yeah.
now that's the challenge. It's like, well,
Hmm.
you know, you have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's true. And then I'm putting it all out here on the line for you people. Another part of that too is like, do I just say, "Hey, man, I felt hurt as a team member that you didn't follow up to let me know you weren't gonna make it. I felt like let down, and I felt like I can't depend on you, and I don't like
Mhm.
feeling like that about a person that I'm on a team with."
Yes.
So, you know, it's that playing in the back of my mind too. Speak up, don't speak up, or attack it from just whatever. But sometimes people need to know. People just don't. People can't read your mind. They don't know that just because they didn't hand you that paper that you feeling let down and feeling like you can't depend on them as a team member. But it's true. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
So
I feel like just like in the previous episode, you used that as a moment to set the standard. And that
yeah,
standard is that, hey, we don't let each other down.
yeah,
And if you see it moving in that direction of things, you're not being able to deliver your part whenever we all, when we all agreed that you were going to deliver it, to communicate and let
yeah,
us know. And we,
yeah,
so I mean, I feel like you should bring it up and then frame it that way. It's like, hey, well, we need to set this as a standard that we don't do this as a team. And we understand that we're all working on different things as well. But if you see that you're not going to have this particular thing ready when you
mm-hmm,
said that you were, to communicate to the team saying, hey guys, I'm not going to have this ready on this date,
yeah,
but I'm working on it and I'm going to try to have it to you. Or
yeah,
just be open enough to say, hey, I just don't have the bandwidth to do it. Can somebody pick up the slack? Because the thing is that even though Rita and I may seem like we're complaining or whatever, but we don't mind
mm-hmm,
picking up the slack
mm-hmm,
if we know ahead of time.
yeah,
But this last minute, I'm just going to throw something together, and
mm-hmm,
that that's not at the, well, standard, which I don't know. That's the thing that we have to talk about as a team. It's like, what is our standard?
yeah,
Like me and you, we have our personal standards, and I
sure,
feel like that's some of the conflict is that our standards are up here, but maybe the standards of our teammates or our leadership are down here. And so whenever they don't reach that, we get frustrated.
yeah,
But which,
yeah,
that's just the standard that has been given,
yeah,
just,
yeah,
or not given. It's just there's no standard, so we can just do whatever.
right, 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 man.
So it's like you have to start this thing you have to build it from the ground up, and then like standards is at the foundation. Like, this
Yeah,
is what we're going to do as a team. This is what we're not going to put up with as a team.
yeah. And I love what you said about like standard number one is we don't let each other down. We don't
Mhm.
let each other down. I mean, that's crucial in building trust in one another. And so, yeah, like it's definitely something that needs to be said. Um, yeah. These are hard conversations to have with people like Brian said, like I'm not their boss, but I am trying to change our current shitty situation. We all recognize it's a crappy situation. I'm just doing my effort in being like, look, we can change whatever we want to change. Let's change it. And
Yeah,
so, I'm trying to lead that notion, but man, yeah. You're right. I'm gonna stay with the challenge. I'm
yeah,
gonna keep picking away at it. And if nothing else, I'm gonna learn a lot of things. I'm gonna learn a lot of things about people and about things you should do and maybe things you shouldn't do, things you shouldn't try.
yeah. I mean, it's just
Uh,
so for everyone, these last two episodes are great episodes for learning about how to run a team, how to work with people with a team, because it's like now my gears are going because of Rita's challenge, because it's like we have an opportunity
yeah,
coming up soon where we're going to have everybody in the room, and we have an opportunity to, like Rita said, to
yes,
change the foundation of how we work as a team and to set those standards. If
yeah,
we could get everybody on the same page,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So,
Yeah.
hey, like I
It,
said, I know you said that this is like your last update for your challenge for your mastering your own destiny. I feel like you should keep it going.
yeah. Yeah. I think I might. I think I might. I'm definitely noticing things about myself. I'm noticing things that other people are noticing about me.
Mhm.
And that is encouraging to know that people can see that I have woke up. So that part's intriguing to me. So it's like I only imagine like how much further I could go if I just continue with this notion of like this is who I am. I'm walking into who I am and who arguably I've always supposed to be. So
And that
yeah.
stuff runs off on other people because it's like, in this particular situation at work, I was open, my eyes were open, but
Hmm.
then I kind of had to go back into my shell.
Yeah.
And you coming out of your shell is kind of making me be like, you know,
Hmm. Yeah.
maybe I can, or maybe we could do this. It gets my gears going and get me more proactive in a situation to where I was kind of like, you know what, maybe it's not a good idea to be proactive. Maybe I should just kind of be like, you know,
Yeah.
and be more selective. But
Yeah. And it's just and I hate to get like all psyche, not psyche, but what's the word? Like I don't know, spiritual on it when it's
mm,
like the vibrational levels. It's
mhm.
like this notion of like when you're vibrating at a higher frequency, when you are like trying to walk in your purpose, trying to be your person, and then you get around these lower vibrational people, it's really easy for them to suck you back down
Yes,
into that lower vibration.
yeah,
And so you gotta be real careful about and that's another challenge I'm facing with this mastering your destiny. It's like, how do I stay up here and not let this stuff pull me back down into there? And I think a lot of it is just is limiting your time with people in the lower vibrations, but also like it's that notion of like, I don't know if I can bring everybody up,
mhm,
to that notion, but if nothing else, don't let them bring me back down because I felt it emotionally like a yo-yo, just one day I'm up, one day I'm down, one day I'm up. It's just exhausting. It's terrible.
yeah.
But now I'm very conscious of the fact of like, okay, I'm beaming in this. I need to stay in this. And so yeah, I'm gonna have a lot more from this. So we'll keep this series going, mastering
Yeah,
my own destiny. Let's see where this can take us.
yeah.
We'll see. Come to the hot side, Brian. Don't stay down there with them chumps.
Well, I mean, I just, I'm not like I said, it's just, I was in a point to where I wasn't totally in my shell, but I was being very selective of
Mm,
where I put my energy. And that
yeah,
was the thing with me. It wasn't more so the bad vibes. It was just figuring out where my energy is best put,
yeah, yeah.
instead of just because the situation that we have on our day jobs is just they kind of suck. It's like
Mm,
you put forth energy and they just grab it and they suck it in all different sorts of directions, and
yeah.
you're just stuck with that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
so that's what I was being very selective of where I put my energy.
yeah.
But like I said, but seeing you is kind of like, well, I don't want you to be alone in that. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
I want to,
Yeah,
one, as a friend, and two, I'm a member of the team. It's like, well, I see you. I'm going to put forth extra effort too to support you because
yeah,
I
yeah.
know you're going to have the ups and downs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So that's what the team is about. When somebody else on your team is going through those hills and valleys, and they're in a valley, you're
Mm-hmm.
there to be like, hey, you got this.
Yeah,
What can I do? You got it. Keep pushing.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And I feel like, and I don't want this to go too long because I know we're about to run out of time, but I feel as though there's moments in time where, you know, if in my mind I'm like, if we can make it through this and figure out how to work together and how to get everybody invested in making this successful, then literally we can run any team because whatever we need to apply to help our teammates put in, their stake into it, help out, and then also us work together. It's like it's like we could take that anywhere. We could take that
Mhm.
anywhere. We could write a book on it once we get it figured out, because it's like I truly believe this process is really crucial, because it and we only have two people. Imagine if we had like multiple people, more people, or I guess three people total on the team extra, but like imagine a team of 15, 20. Like you got so many personalities, so many energies, so many things. Like
Mhm.
it's nice that this is a smaller group to test certain things on, to see what works, what doesn't work.
Mhm.
So
But
I don't know.
we just have to set the foundations, and
For
so
sure, for sure. Yeah,
to be
yeah.
continued, everyone.
Yeah. To be continued. Next week we'll do another update.
Yeah.
See where we are. But thank you guys so much. We appreciate you being here. It is our hope that these episodes provide a window into the daily mindsets, joys, and challenges that creative people face every single day. It is a creative lifestyle, and you aren't alone in it. If you're looking for more creative talk, just like this one, search for Label Me Other on TikTok, and you'll find tons of additional videos just like this one. So get out there and go create something.
All
Bye, you
right.
guys.
See you.